Hi, it's Ashley from Sweet Dreams Bake Shop, and welcome back to my channel where I make a lot of cake and cookie decorating tutorials as well as give a lot of baking business tips. And welcome back to another day of Vlogmas. And you know what's worse than falling behind schedule? Falling behind your own schedule. So I started off the day thinking I'm going to get everything decorated. If you saw my video from yesterday, everything was pretty much prepped and ready to go. And then I thought I'm going to go out and I'm going to purchase all of the stuff that I need in order to package these. Yeah, this took way longer than I expected. Plus, we've pretty much been advised not to drive around at all because we have a mix of snow and freezing rain everywhere, and the highway entrances were closed for a really long time. But that's kind of besides the point because obviously I didn't finish up anyway, and if I were to be going out and getting packaging, it would be right now, which is like 6 o'clock at night. I hope this story isn't very relatable for most of you, and I hope you guys are all done creating all the treats that you want to for your Christmas Eve parties and your Christmas get-togethers, but I know there's got to be some of you out there that are in the same boat as me. Thankfully, I actually did get everything done today, so tomorrow is strictly going to be packaging and fun and hanging out with my family. I am so excited, guys. Don't worry, I will have a video for you tomorrow, but I'm saving some of the items that I made today for tomorrow's video because this honestly just took up so much footage. I was so surprised at how many gingerbread-esque items that I had to share with you, so I decided to group that into one video, and then tomorrow I'll show you all the rest of the shortbread and sugar cookies that I decorated. So I get asked this question a lot: what tip am I using in order to fill my macaron shells? I almost exclusively use this tip now just because it works so well. It is a Sultan tip, Sultan, and it has that hole in the center, so it really creates the perfect center for your fillings. And as you saw earlier, I made a dark chocolate ganache. I had a little bit higher of a ratio of whipping cream this time because I find that if I go too high with my ratio of chocolate, then it becomes really hard once everything is solidified. So I want this to have a nice kind of smooth chew to it. I don't want it to be like a chocolatey crunch. So I used 250 grams of whipping cream to 400 grams of dark chocolate. And the solidification of your ganache will also depend on the quality of chocolate you use. So I always say it's not an exact science with the ganache because it really does depend on what type of chocolate you're using. And here are all the macarons. I have them laid out on my Cookie Countess mat because I'm going to start airbrushing. So this was really fun and really satisfying, and the black mat really makes sure that it gets all of that overspray. So I'm just taking some of that airbrush and really lightly airbrushing just around the outside. Honestly, I probably could have just left it at this color. It's really cute too, but I wanted to give it that little bit of extra cartoony punch. Then I made some royal icing, making sure to make it piping consistency, which means it's nice and thick. If you ever want to thicken up your royal icing, just add a little bit more meringue powder or add some more icing sugar to it so you get that right consistency. I apologize for the blur here, and I'm just using a little bit of pink here. It looks really cute too when you do a little bit of a pink blush with petal dust. I decided because I wanted this to go faster that I'm using royal icing, and I'm just finishing up the last ones here and giving it a nice little glint in that eye. This is very classic me, and I am going to be gifting these in the next couple days, so it's going to be fine in the refrigerator, but these will also keep for up to 3 months in the freezer too, so I could probably save some for myself so that I can have a snack when I want to. Now, at the very beginning of my video, I placed this dough on the counter because even though it does require a lot of resting time, about 3 hours or more is what the recipe said, you do need to let it rest again when you take it out because it's obviously too hard when it initially comes out of the fridge. So I do like it a little bit more pliable, and by the time I got around to it after I'd finished all of the macarons, it was very pliable and easy to roll out. And whenever you're rolling out doughs, make sure that you're always constantly moving it around and gently flour your surface. Now, if you're using my classic sugar cookie recipe, you're going to want to flour that very generously, but it really just depends on what recipe you're using. I figured this gingerbread recipe probably was already fairly dry, so I just needed a light dusting. So I'm just making a whole bunch of small gingerbread cutouts, and then when I got to the end, I didn't have too much dough left, so I decided to do these mini gingerbread cutouts. And here are the gingerbread all baked up, and for the most part, I got it pretty smooth. I think I can cover up those little imperfections with some royal icing, and I'm going to keep these fairly simple. There's just a few designs I'm going to show you in the other video that are going to be a little bit more complex and involved. So I really wanted this gingerbread color to show through. I think it looks really striking when you've got that bright white royal icing and then you have the dark gingerbread background. So honestly, I know designs like this can feel a little bit intimidating, but once you master straight lines, you're going to be able to make these very, very simply. I find this type of decorating the most therapeutic to me. No having to lay down pipe and flood consistency, no having to wait for anything to dry. You just can go and be creative, and it's not like you're having to copy a character. Just let that creativity flow. And when you're making straight lines, by the way, this used to be very challenging for me. What you need to do is you need to have a consistent squeeze on that piping bag, and then you're going to dot down and you're going to lift that piping bag up. You actually want it higher than you think. Don't try to drag that piping bag through, or else you're just going to end up with really, really inconsistent lines. And chances are, because this is a bit of a drier consistency, because you need it to be a little bit thicker, you're just going to end up lifting all of your lines if you do it that way. I also use a lot of looping on all of these snowflakes. Loops and dots and straight lines is really all this is, and you're just putting it together in creative ways, whatever you see fit. But of course, because it is a snowflake, everything has to be symmetrical. And the beauty of this is if you make a mistake, you can easily scrape things off without wrecking anything underneath. When I first started cookie decorating, I can't tell you the number of times that I would be in a rush, so I would try to just layer things as quickly as possible, and then there was no way I could scrape things off without wrecking something underneath. So this is a beautifully elegant design that doesn't have a lot of consequence if you mess up. Now I'm just going for classic gingerbread here. I think I did very, very similar things on my channel last year, and I also did something very similarly when I was in my competition with Ashleigh, but I just think it looks so cute. You know, you give it a few squiggles here and there. Again, a very, very forgiving design. Just make sure that you aim for those hands and those legs, and then go ahead and add your buttons on. And you can do so much with this too. You can make this as simple as you want or as glammed up as you want. I think if I had the gold that I really, really love, which I haven't had for a while because it takes a little while to ship from the States, I would definitely use that to paint on to the buttons. Moving along to the eyes, I'm just using, again, that thickened royal icing with black in it, and I did let this black sit for a little bit longer so that it was quite black without having to add too much food coloring, and then going in with some glint again on the corners of the eyes. I notice I always go for the upper right-hand corner. Where do you guys put the glints of your eyes, or do you guys skip that part altogether? Let me know down in the comments below. I felt like the gingerbread man needed a little bit more color on there, so I decided to go in with this green because I used green on some of the other cookies that I'll show you tomorrow. And honestly, these really reminded me of the same type of gingerbread men that Jujar made at his shop for his grand opening. Video in the right-hand corner if you want to see that. And I really love it. I love that pop of green. Green normally isn't my color of choice, but I think it goes really, really well with these gingerbread men. And then, of course, adding on those blushy cheeks. And I don't think petal dust would work as well on here just because the gingerbread men themselves are so dark. So definitely royal icing pink is the way to go. Whenever I make gingerbread men like this, like the really big type, it always reminds me of this one year where my figure skating coach gifted me a gingerbread man cookie, and I don't know why. It was just from a local restaurant that she worked at, but it was the most delicious gingerbread man I had ever had. So whenever the design calls for it, I like to add a little hint of chocolate to the gingerbread man because it really is so delicious. And here are the finished gingerbread cookies. Now there's only 6 treat boxes that I'm making, but I think I have more than enough product now for way more than 6 of them. But I will be showing you every single cookie and treat that I'm putting inside of the boxes in tomorrow's video, which I think might not actually be the final video for these treat boxes. That one might end up being uploaded on Christmas Day. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you can be part of the Sweetie fam. Right now, I'm uploading every single day for Vlogmas, so be sure to come back tomorrow to see what I do with these treat boxes next. Also, be sure to comment, request, or ask a question. I love hearing from you guys. Bye!